All right. So, um, yeah, let's keep doing this. I was just thinking about take a deep breath. I was just thinking about the times we're in right now. It's not overwhelming. Um, Got to stay focused and remain calm. That's the best thing anybody can do. So, the way I stay calm, movies. So, to the viewers of these uploads, you're in luck because yesterday you got a chance to hear one of my top 5 movies in Mad Max, and now you get to hear number 6. Just missed out on the top 5. That's Loopers, starring Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Emily Blunt, and Bruce Willis. So, I looked at some of these actors' works. Uh, Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Now, can I say his whole name all the time? I should just call him Levitt, Mr. Levitt, or Gordon-Levitt. Is that better? I don't know. That guy. Um, he was in some pretty decent movies. What I saw, I think he was. I think the biggest one was Inception. Smaller roles. He was in Dark Knight too. I remember him playing like a young detective in that movie. I think it was Dark Knight. It was one of those Batman movies. I don't want to. I don't want to make the dead roll over in their grave. But and Emily Blunt was in. I looked. Like my brain doesn't even work that well. I just looked at it. So she was in. I should have wrote it down. That's what's telling me. She was in Edge of Tomorrow, which is all right movie. Of course, A Quiet Place. Um, what else was she in? I don't know. And of course, Bruce Willis was in. Bruce Willis is an American action star, which leads me into this. Now, seeing Bruce Willis' name and him in the trailer for the movie, you would go, "Oh, this is an action movie," but I don't think it's an action movie. A matter of fact, I think it's when I googled the film, I think it was given a title of sci-fi thriller, which I can agree with because um, it's not based in the present. It's kind of based sometime in the future. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's flying bikes, and like it's kind of like a dystopia. Of course, everything's kind of went south. There's I forget if it's teleporters or time travel. I can't remember which one it was. Um, but the weapons they use aren't exactly done up too much. I mean, I think there's some submachine guns used in there, and of course a really long barrel, 6 or 5 shot. I think it's like a Magnum 500 or something like that. Something really ridiculous. And of course, they went really, really old school and used something called a blunderbuss. Um, I'm not 100% if the name was real, like it was used when this particular weapon was most popular. I think it was more of a pirate type weapon, and I definitely know it was black powder. So it's like that means it's like ancient and antique almost, or archaeological find or something like that. Because like you have to put like something on top of there, so when the hammer goes down, it strikes it, lights it, and then there's powder and shot all shoved into the barrel, and you can't get too far with it. It's really a close quarters, gruesome type weapon. But anyway, um, no, I just feel like this movie. That's why I chose this movie as a spotlight. I feel like it doesn't get any respect. It's quite a good movie. Now, it follows. I'm trying to figure out how I should say his name. Follows Joseph. His character, his job. He's a hitman for the mob of all things. But they don't. But they don't. I forget exactly what the reasoning behind their doing the things the way they did it was. Um, it's slipping my mind. But they can't just outright kill people for some reason. So they So they find somebody. They send somebody to the I think is it the future? Find your old self, and then they teleport you back, and then you as a hitman, you sit there and you just bow, you just shoot them right there with the blunderbuss, and uh, and that's another thing. The layers inside this movie are so good. Oh, I want to give a shout out to his best friend in the movie. The guy's name is Paul. I forget his last name. I'm sorry, but he was in 12 Years a Slave. Oh God, that's the only movie I remember he was in. He played a small role in there. Oh Jesus. Oh man. Oh man, I can't believe I forget all the movies he played in. But he played small roles as well. But he's a decent actor. When you see him on the screen, you're drawn into his presence. Um, but yeah, so they do a great job of. I don't want to forget this. I mentioned earlier there's like a flying bikes and it's a dystopia and things like that. But uh, they play on the luck of the draw as far as human civilization goes. Almost didn't get their word out. They play on that by giving like a birth defect where people are able to levitate small metal objects no bigger than a quarter. But they also they also say, well, yeah, it's a slight mutation that happened however many years ago, but so many people can do it, it's not that big a deal anymore. So it's like, oh, it sucked all the fun out of they sucked all the fun out of these this crazy mutation that happened in the future. But that brings it back to reality. There's I'm trying to think what else there is. I can't remember anything off the top of my head. But basically, it follows him as a hitman, and they build that career up as not being long lived because there's something called canceling the contract. Uh, you do it, you do it for as long as you can, but then in that line of business, you know, I'm not an expert, of course, but it seems even in like the real life stories that I heard as far as the mob goes, um, you'll be you'll be you'll be shucking and jiving, moving around, doing your thing, but meanwhile you'll ruffle somebody's feathers over here, or somebody new will get put in place over here, and then it'd be deemed that you're not needed anymore. And the same thing goes for these guys in this fictional story. So you wind up, and the coldest part about it is they wind up making you eliminate yourself, your future self, of course, which is like, oh God, that is horrible. But I mean, and they do it at a time when you're like old and like, hey, bro, I've paid my debt, I've lived my life. Why are you making me kill myself? It's so insane. But that's part of the beauty of this movie, the levels in it. And then, of course, you say, where does Emily Blunt play into this? Now, I've already spoken about Gordon-Levitt, his best friend, and Bruce Willis, because Bruce Willis is Gordon-Levitt's older self, and that's how those two come to me. But what does Emily Blunt have to do with this? Bruce Willis character, well, his older self, Gordon-Levitt's older self, who played by Bruce Willis, says, "Hey, I figured out who is the boss and who is deciding to eliminate all these hitmen. This one little kid. So it's kind of like a Terminator type scenario. If I go back and take it out when it's a kid from the source, but not knowing this kid's mutations are far greater than levitating a coin. When he gets mad, he can make people liquefy, to put it nicely. And Emily Blunt is not his mother. She is his caretaker. And there's one instance when he starts having he starts pouting, having a temper tantrum. Hope I said that right. And her only she can't do nothing about it because he obviously doesn't have full control over it. So she runs into like a gun safe and locks herself in there while he's going crazy and screaming. And they do a great job the movie does a great job of portraying his power by slowing everything down and seeing that everything around him is levitating at this point. And there's all types of chaos going on. Now, Gordon-Levitt figures out what Bruce Willis, his older self, is up to, so he decides to guard the little kid. That's how Emily Blunt comes to play into it. And then they have this big standoff, but they do a great job of do a great job of keeping you present and showing you Gordon-Levitt's life, and then they do a great job of filling you in what happened along the way with Bruce Willis, his older self. It deserves a watch. I mean, it deserves a watch. It's a great movie. I don't think I don't think it deserves the place it's been put in all of movies, I guess. That's just me. That's why I decided to give it a spotlight. So, today's Monday, right? Yeah, today's Monday, so I don't make any videos Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday. 3 days. Okay. Till Friday.